This is the Global Economic Commodities Scrap Metal and Recycling Report by our Bentley Roll-Off Trailers and Lugger Trucks, November 15th, 2021. U.S. weekly crude steel production fell to 1.84 million tons on good demand. Importantly, steel mills continue maximizing the price-demand matrix, keeping prices high. WTI crude oil price fell to $80.79 a barrel, the third weekly drop. The U.S. may release oil reserves and on higher U.S. production. U.S. weekly oil production was steady at 11.5 million barrels per day, but down a huge 1.6 million barrels per day since March 2020. U.S. oil companies are keeping production down to get higher prices. If the U.S. went back to pumping the same amount of oil we did in March 2020, the global price of oil would crash. Gasoline would be about $2.25 a gallon, not $3.45 a gallon. The U.S. weekly oil rig count rose to 454. It was almost double in 2019, and it's well off March 2020. Importantly, it was more than triple in 2014. U.S. oil companies are key to global inflation. Scrap steel number one, HMS price rose to $465 a gross ton on good demand, and as supply is improving. Hot rolled coil steel price fell to $92.50 per hundredweight, which is $18.50 a ton. This was on good demand and increasing supply. Copper price rose to $4.45 a pound. Moreover, this was on low inventories, but on concerns over China's slowdown. Aluminum price rose to $1.21 a pound, which is $26.67 a metric ton, up from an 11-week low. This was as inventories are at a 16-year low and on lower China production, yet good demand. China's October producer prices surged 13.5%, the highest in 26 years. This was on shortages of raw materials and electrical power. And we thought U.S. inflation was high? China October's trade surplus surged to $84.5 billion, a record high. Exports to the U.S. were near record levels. This is great upside as we work to manufacture more materials in the U.S. U.S. November U of M Consumer Sentiment Index. It fell to 66.8 on current inflation fears, but the 5-year outlook remains steady. U.S. annual inflation rose to 6.2%, with gasoline, food, and new and used vehicles the highest. As for some good news, core inflation, which excludes the volatile food and energy products, was a lower 4.6%. U.S. September job openings fell 191,000 to 10.4 million. There were less government and real estate jobs. This is great upside as the economy works to fill these jobs. Wall Street's Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 228 points to 36,100, but near the all-time high. This was on lower consumer sentiment and on the high inflation fears, but near record highs. And that brings the wealth effect. As people feel wealthy, they spend more, which supports consumer spending. Pup roll-off trailers by Bentley. Double your load, which is great for long hauls. We make them dry with no hydraulics or wet with full hydraulics. Call us for a quote. As always, feel free to call or email me with any questions, and we hope all have a safe and profitable week.